Hi everyone, welcome to Family Sunday. Have you watched this week's story video yet? If not, go and have a watch. It's the next one in our series of parables, stories that Jesus told. This one's called the Parable of the Talents, although I didn't call it that in the story video, but we're going to talk a bit about that later on. So go and watch if you haven't watched yet. Now, I'm sure you remember that every week we're going to start with a few questions about what represents what in the story, because all of the stories that Jesus told have a meaning and something we can learn from them. So, today's questions are: who does the master represent? Who do the servants represent? What do the bags of money represent? And as always, one last question, which is, who do you think you are in the story? Go and have a chat about it. I had to think about those questions. I think that the master represents God, or maybe Jesus, and the servants are us. Bags of money, it says, are the talents, the gifts and abilities that God gives to us. That's cool, isn't it? I wonder, when you think about the story, how big do you imagine that bag of money to be? Did you know that in the original language, in the language the Bible was written in, which wasn't English, talks about those things, those bags of money, of being talents of money. And a talent was just something they used to weigh things. Like we use kilograms, or maybe we use stone and pounds to weigh things and to know how much stuff weighed. In those days they used something called a talent. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder how heavy a talent is. So I went and looked it up. And a talent is 35 kilograms. I wonder if you weigh as much as a talent. The adults in your family will, they'll weigh a bit more than that, but not all of the children will yet. If you've got some scales in your house, you could go and find out how much you weigh and see whether or not you weigh as much as a talent. It's quite a lot. If you've got more than one child in your house, you could try both standing on the scales together and seeing if you weigh as much as a talent together. If you don't have any scales, that's okay. You can maybe Google how much the average child your age weighs. That would give you a good idea of whether or not you weigh more or less than a talent. Think how much money that was. It was an awful lot, wasn't it, that master trusted his servants with? We talked about how those bags of money, they represent the talents, the gifts and abilities that God gives us. But I found out that that word talent, it actually comes from this story. That's why we use the word talent to describe our special gifts and abilities. I wonder, what talents do you have? What special things has God made you to be good at? In the story, the first man used what he had very wisely, didn't he? He used it and he ended up with even more. The last man didn't though, did he? He hid his away. He was too scared to use it. Think about those talents that you have, the gifts and abilities that God has given you. Have a think, how could you be like the first man and how could you be like the last man? You might want to give an example. Like if your talent was singing, well, you could be like the first man maybe by singing in a church service or something like that. But you could be like the last man by hiding away and never singing at all. See if you can come up with an example for your talent. Have another think about the story. Of those servants, who did the most work and who did the least, do you think? What does that tell us about our talents, do you think? I think that shows us that we have to work. Even if we're really talented at something, we still have to put a lot of work in to get good at it, don't we? I think it's amazing that God gives us such special gifts and abilities. Think back over the story. What do you think the story shows us about how God wants us to live our lives? That's the end of Family Sunday for today. I hope you enjoyed it. You might have heard that church is going to be open again soon and we're going to be able to come to Sunday services. There will be some children's groups happening, so keep an eye out this week because I'm going to be making a little video explaining how that will work. But Family Sunday and stories each week are going to carry on for the time being because I know that not everybody's quite ready to come back to the church building. I hope you've enjoyed joining us for Family Sunday today, and I will see you next week for another story and another Family Sunday. Bye!